Good evening, everyone. I imagine at this point, some of you are probably getting pretty late towards bedtime, especially if you're in Europe. For those of you in the United States, depending on what time zone you're in, you're probably either perfectly right in the middle of the evening or you're right in the middle of, whatever match is going on this afternoon. So today we're going to be doing a little bit of mountain flying. We're here in beautiful Papua New Guinea, one of the most culturally and linguistically diverse places on planet Earth. I can see that we've collected a really large collection of folks that we're going to be taking with us, including a ghost airplane, which is going to be so awesome to experience. So today we're going to be taking off. We're going to basically be doing the best we can to avoid the sides of these really, really tall mountains. Mountain flying out this way is just about the same concept as it is out in the American West. The big difference being that there's a considerably greater amount of friction. There also is a slightly different weather pattern in these mountains, and usually visibility is almost more dangerous than the wind itself. So that all being said, let's go ahead and get everything started up, and go ahead and get going here. Now this aircraft is a very, very simple aircraft to start. Again, this is really, really straightforward. Like I just said just a moment ago, I'm just checking to make sure my electronics work. Cool. Okay, so basically this one is an ultralight aircraft, but it has retractable landing gear, which is absolutely absurd. By the way, for those of you who are joining us, we're at Delta Oscar Oscar, and I'm on the East USA server. So let's go ahead and get this thing going. We'll go ahead and turn on the master switch, and turn on the backup battery. I'm going to flip on the fuel pump, strobe light. We're going to flip on the fuel. We're going to go to the left tank first today. That looks pretty good to me. And all we have to do is sit there and flip this thing into the start position and give it a couple cranks. Once it gets going, give it a little bit of gas. Give it a moment to go ahead and stabilize, and flick on this switch, and we'll let the engine get all nice and warmed up while we're kind of going here. So a couple really weird quirks with this particular aircraft. The one I love is it's got the combined power handle, but the weird one is the fact that my switches for both flaps as well as gear is handled with a button as opposed to a big fancy lever like so many other aircraft are. And my RPM control is this teeny tiny little knob that we're going to have to fitz with. This is another Rotax powered aircraft. So with that being said, let's take one quick look at all the good folks around us today. And we're going to go ahead and do our takeoff. And this should be, like I said, kind of an interesting experience, especially for those folks who are joining us from earlier today. Go ahead and release the parking brake. Give us just a little bit of power here. Okay, we're definitely going to need 2 notches of flaps to go ahead and take off this particular aircraft. Go ahead and line myself up nice and neatly here. Okay, looks pretty good. Looks like I'm getting cut off by somebody, but that's okay. So when we take off, we're going to be doing a VX takeoff, which means as soon as we get airborne, we're basically going to stand on our tail, travel very, very slowly to try to get as much altitude as possible. We are taking off into the wind today, so it should make things a little bit simpler and a little bit safer for us. So without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and hold the brakes all the way down, push the power all the way forward, wait until we get to maximum RPM. It's got to shake up really, really bad, and we're just going to release the brake, and off we go. Now, being a very light aircraft, it takes very little room to get this thing airborne. As you can see, I've already brought the landing gear up, and we are on our way. All right, not bad at all. Get ourselves some of that good initial altitude. We'll do our initial power reduction in just a second. All right, I just want to get a little bit of ground underneath me. Go ahead and gently bring up those 2 notches of flaps. And we are on our flight today. So for those of you who missed this morning, I'll be talking about some things about these mountain flights that we probably mentioned a little bit earlier, as well as, kind of make some general tips what makes it a little bit different flying in this kind of an area. I'm just going to go take a look behind me real quick to make sure there's not utter chaos behind me. It's going to be utter chaos in just a minute. Fortunately, this aircraft is relatively slow. All right, I'm going to go ahead and level off, and I'm going to reduce power just a little bit. Again, remember, always reduce your manifold pressure before you reduce your RPM. And now I'm just going to wheel down to get to about 5,500 RPM. Now, you're probably going, why are you just not immediately taking a right and shooting across those mountains? Well, if you take a really close look, there's actually a lower section of the mountains straight ahead on my right. I've mapped this flight out very, very carefully with terrain so that I can minimize the amount of damage that it could accidentally cause here. So quick, first things first, when it comes to mountain flying, usually the biggest danger is going to be losing visibility as well as dealing with extremely strong turbulence. As a matter of fact, a lot of our techniques with mountain climbing is all about trying to avoid that really bad turbulence. I'm actually going to go ahead and reduce my RPM just a teeny tiny bit, get us into the green. And then we're going to go ahead and do our initial turn and start flying towards our direction. Now, normally when you're mountain flying, you always want to be considering what exactly is the wind going to be doing in a given environment. Now, for us, the wind is coming straight at us right now. So if you want to imagine the wind like it was water, visualize the way the wind would come over the top of this ridge line and then come rushing into this valley, which would mean if it hits the bottom of the valley, it'd push itself back up this right valley here, sending us in all sort of a nasty kind of a place. So we want to be very, very cautious with that as we're doing our flight here. Ideally, what you want to be is on the upslope so that the wind can carry us up rather than down. You would never want to be in the dead center, otherwise you're going to end up in a situation where you're basically going to get the rotor of death as you get a massive venturi, almost like a tornado in the dead center of everything. So yes, Microsoft servers are absolutely famous for dropping connections just because they feel like making our day more interesting than it needs to be. Go ahead and slow myself down just a little bit. Again, just bringing the RPM down to a more reasonable amount. Awesome. Somebody just mentioned the fact that in the middle of Orlando. Fortunately, it's going to be a bit of a ride from there. All right, let's take a quick look around us. And you can see it's like the drone displays directly behind us. Hopefully, they're following me and not each other. I'll go ahead and slow way down in just a moment. I just want to make sure that I'm safely up. Okay, so which pathway are we going to take here? I'm going to go ahead and stick my head up a teeny tiny bit. So we've got over the top, which is pretty good. We do notice there's a mountain on that side, which usually is a bit of a caution. Where am I going to go if I go over the top and I suddenly hit turbulence? Going through this valley is definitely interesting. Looking through the valley itself, though, I don't see any rivers and I don't see any roads, which is usually a very bad sign as far as safety goes. If people chose not to do this, it totally depends on what you set the wedding to it. I'm 6'4" red. Yeah, everybody's kind of figured that out. Cool. So what we want to do here is decide, do we want to go this way through this part of the valley and then come left across it? Or do we want to run the risk of kind of going over here and getting more altitude? Unfortunately for us, our route today is going to take us through this valley, which again, see where these two mountains get very tight? In the real world, this would be basically a turbulence and nightmare. So we'd have to be very, very cautious. Go ahead. Now again, I'm only doing about 106 knots for the folks behind me, and it seems like they're catching up pretty efficiently. All right. I just can't believe that you can have a very light aircraft that has retractable landing gear. Of course, I always forget to put them back down afterwards, but, you know, you can't win them all kind of a thing like that. All right, looking pretty good. I'm going to go ahead and take a look at my chart real quick. I just want to confirm visually that I'm not going to get myself in a bad spot here. Again, I'm trying to fly over the turbulence that would be at the base of this valley. Taking a quick look here. Of course, we can always zoom in and out using this button here. And you can see very clearly, do you see how there's this little break directly ahead? As a matter of fact, you can click and drag this if you need to. Do you see how this valley gets very, very steep and then it gets really nasty through this cut right here? That's not going to work for us. We're actually going to follow the magenta line and try to get into this valley and then circumvent this by taking a left turn around it. So it's wonderful that we have that synthetic vision that we can take advantage of that, as well as a really good topo map. I can see that I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 folks behind me. That is amazing. Again, I'm only doing 106 knots here, so you will catch up, I promise. Again, if we proceed down this hill, we're going to run out of room. So I'm going to smoothly apply full RPM, smoothly apply full throttle, and I'm just going to basically power my way right back over the top. Our climb speed on this thing is quite fast. Good morning, Heinrich. That's pretty early. This is getting late for me. All right, we're just going to go ahead and focus. One technique we can use to get over this more effectively is we can actually circle in place. That's not a bad technique, especially if we do this. Remember, though, the wind is coming from the left side, which means when we cross this place, there's a very strong chance of downdrafts. So when we do cross it, we're actually going to be crossing at roughly a 45-degree angle. I don't want to go ahead and do this. Canadian Goat is asking about modded planes. Could you be a little more specific? I'm not sure what you mean. All right, we're going to try to hit this ridge line at a 45-degree angle. We don't want to, because if we need to turn around, we can always shoot to the right, and we have plenty of space to go in case we hit extreme turbulence. I don't think we will, but you never know. All right, looking pretty good. I'm feeling fairly confident now. Again, I'm using that full power just in case I need it. And we are just about clear. Perfect. All right, go ahead and reduce my power again, and I'm going to do some RPM as well. Now, we could have kept going, but that looks like it was the lowest place in this particular mountain here. Oh, there's the ridge lift. I knew I was going to hit that. So for the next one, we're actually going to hang a left turn around that large mountain and then proceed back down into the valley itself. Now, one of the great things here that's different than when we were flying in Utah earlier is that you have a significantly larger amount of these trees that suck up all that energy from the wind and make things much more stable for us. Yeah, I'm looking straight out my window. Even though my topograph right there tells me that things look like they're pretty good, we're actually going to be trying to get through that little pass right there on my left. So what I'm going to do, I'm just sort of planning my move mentally, probably going to do something like this to kind of cut back across it. Yeah, I think we're looking pretty good. I'm going to take a look behind me, see if there's any... I have a seat. Here comes everybody else roughly pushing themselves across that mountain range. Told you it's pretty tight. All right, so it looks to me like we're going to have to cross the mountain right there at the left point. Going to be right about there. Perfect. We're going to get a little bit of turbulence from that mountain directly below us, but the great news is looks like the turbulence already took out all the bad trees. We don't have to worry about that too much. But we do have to be cautious. We are up high enough that we should be able to avoid the nasty stuff. When we get on the other side of this mountain and cut back down, we're going to reduce the altitude so we can start thinking about setting up for our landing. We're about 20 nautical miles away from our landing itself, but it's a very low area, so we're going to have to be very, very cautious. Canadian Goat's mentioning a bunch of different types of mods for me. I'm not a big mod person in general. I mean, I can't wait until they put together some, nice paywares, especially for the tube liners. I'm a huge fan of the Beach 60, for example. Hopefully we get one of those at some point. If not, we're going to kind of make do with it. Okay, now the interesting thing is my topograph shows me that it actually looks taller there than it looks exactly where I am. But from what I'm looking out the window, it does not look that safe. I'm going to go ahead and reduce power just a little bit again. Directly behind me, we've got quite a pack. This landing is going to be nutty. For all my folks who are flying behind me, would you prefer it if I did a quick circle? Okay, perfect. Give me 2 seconds because I want to line myself up with this river. All right, once I cross over, I'll do a circle as I start my descent. Just confirming everything is the way I expect it to be. Perfect. We're going to take that river as soon as we get over the top. Oh, somebody behind me forgot to put their landing gear up. All right, so now we're going to be descending into this very, very, very large valley. The destination today is right here. It is Alpha Yankee Echo India. Oh, looks like we got a formation flyer. Nice. All right, now that I'm clear of that mountain and we're about to descend down into the valley itself, I'm going to start going ahead and doing a very, very gentle circle, reducing my speed all the way down. And I'm just going to hold this tight little donut here for a moment. Whoop, sorry about that. I guess you couldn't hear me on the radio when I called it, right? It's going to do one revolution, and then we're going to descend down into the valley. Now, one of the things I said on my stream earlier, which is an absolutely amazing tip, is whenever you're kind of doing mountain flying, you're trying to find the safest path to follow, always look for railroads first, roads second, and rivers finally. Because naturally, of course, the way that the land goes, you want to pick the lowest spot to get through them, so they'll give you the optimum time to go ahead and do exactly what you need. Of course, with me taking a circle right here, I'm sure I've just confused everybody hopelessly. But that's okay, I'm sure. All right, we're going to head down into the valley now. This will be fun. Those of you who were around this morning probably saw kind of some pretty scary rocky valleys. This is much more lush valleys. All right, down we go. Hopefully that circle helped everybody out, kind of get reacquired. Yes, we could go directly over the top. David Matthews asked a question, when should you lower the propeller RPM below 100%? Dave, basically, it totally depends on the manufacturer of the given aircraft. Different aircraft will make different recommendations as far as when that goes. Generally, again, I'm going to say the word generally here because every aircraft really has its own personality depending on what you're doing with it. You're going to be reducing that RPM usually about to 85 to 75%, typically during cruise, and using 100% power during climb. Now, the interesting thing there is if you're in the old-fashioned airliners, you could use something as low as like 65% for your RPM. This particular aircraft, you actually have the combination manifold pressure as well as the RPM gauge. Right now, for the Rotax engine, at least from what I've read in the book, tells me you want to be right around 4,500 RPM seems to be kind of safe. All right, let's continue descending here. Bangan, sorry, asks for anything about airliner videos. I'm not going to lie, I'm not thrilled with the airliners in Microsoft Flight Simulator. My background was probably, all the different stuff in X-planes, and I'm kind of used to those like FFGs and stuff like that, where they had those really, really, really nice 767s and 757s. I love taking the time to set up the FMS and everything along those lines, and that was really a lot of fun. I'm finding with these airliners, in this particular one, I'm fighting basically the fly-by-wire, and it just doesn't feel natural yet for me, but it's something I could look at checking it out a little bit later. Oh, good morning, Michael. Or I should say good afternoon. It totally depends on what time zone you're in. Okay, I think we've gotten ourselves down to nice and safe altitude. Now it's time to start thinking about mountain climbing again. The winds today, I've got 5 knots at 270. Yeah, Chippy A is absolutely correct with that fly-by-wire mod. It just doesn't feel right for me yet, and I have dealt with fly-by-wire aircraft before. There's a really good aircraft for X-plane that actually does an Airbus A350, and that's just it's so pleasant to fly that thing. It's not work unlike some other aircraft that are. If you're flying like an old DC-8 or DC-6, I should say, that's work to fly, but it's still a lot of fun. All right. Dylan asked what I think of the CJ4. That's my favorite of the jets, to be honest. The big one, the other Cessna that they give you with the deluxe edition, that thing's really sweet, but the CJ4 is just slightly more user-friendly. Take a look around. Okay. I noticed there's a really nasty looking little ridge over here on my right. I'm just going to hang slightly to the left and stay by where the water is. You always want to be considering, if something bad happened to my engine, where am I going to stick this thing? All right, I'm just going to kind of hang to the right. And again, we're just going to be following this river. It's going to be probably another, I don't know, 6, 7, 8 minutes, something like that. I got to go ahead and take a look at it in a minute. Let's see other questions people are asking. Yep, again, we did this again early this morning and kind of did the same kind of flight. One thing I'll say too is, again, for people who don't watch both of these videos, is that when we are in environments like this, like I said, always go down to the wind. And when you have these nice flat mountains and there's plenty of trees on them, that's a good indication that the turbulence isn't going to be terrible. The big problem we've had before here is if you were flying with real world weather, is I guarantee you'd be dealing with thunderstorms. I guarantee you'd have clouds trapped in every single one of these valleys, making things very, very dangerous. All right, we're going to go kind of hang around the right here. Yeah, that wasn't such a bad ridge. I actually watched a really, really neat video on Papua New Guinea here, and I've been pronouncing that horribly the whole time. Again, I'm just a stupid American, and my accent is about limited to that. Of course, if we ever start doing any flying down in South America, then I should be able to pronounce things slightly better. A little bit of Spanish background. Ooh, I'm going to have to check that out. Now, one interesting thing is a lot of these back places, you probably notice that there's no roads anywhere. The reason for that is on account of the fact that these places are only basically accessible by boat or they're accessible by air, which is exactly what we're doing. All right, for those of you who are preparing to land, we're going to be getting there very, very shortly. The good news is the wind is coming out of the west. The bad news is that it's going to be a crosswind, and you're actually going to be basically, I just got past, beep, beep, beep. Basically, what you're going to be doing during that landing is you're going to be gently, and I mean gently, like slip the plane in gently, landing across the wind next to a river. You can't miss it. It's absolutely wild. And this is so pretty. It's so nice. I got to visit places like this someday. The farthest I've ever been from the U.S. is Australia, and I've got some really, really fun stories for that. But again, if we ever get to that point in our live streams that I got to start doing my stories about riding the train in Australia and Melbourne, things have gone downhill pretty bad. Let's go ahead and take a look at this. Hey, how's it going? Give it a little wind. I still swear his wheels are hanging out. How's it going? Nice. All right, there's actually several airports around here that we could utilize. I'm actually going to give myself a little bit of trim here. Again, I haven't touched the autopilot for any of these flights today. I just don't need it. Just going to go take a look real quick. Yep. So we're going to be landing this way. But remember, since the wind is coming out of the west, we're going to pass it and then come back around again. I'm just taking a look. Look at that. This is crazy. You guys are the greatest. Yeah, Dylan, I totally agree. Like when I say, oh, I'm going to go for a flight today, usually I fly the Bonanza because it's just right. That's awesome. It's so funny because, again, I'm not going to get on too much of a tangent here, but going to other countries that actually have a public transit system versus what I usually see, it's just so different. Go ahead and fix this real quick. All right, folks, so remember the wind, if you set it like I asked you to, is going to be coming from behind us during the landing, so you have to be very, very cautious. And again, just like I promised, if you follow the river, you're going to have a much, much safer time because, just look around, river makes this massive valley. It's going to be smoother and it's going to be less increase in altitude. Of course, what we could have done at any time is given ourselves full power and ripped right out of this canyon. But this is just so cool. Could you imagine? Oh, look at that. Look at that. That's so wild. Okay, so another good mountain flying tip here. As I see this beautiful little ridge on my right, it is super tempting to just choo-choo across the top. You want to be at least 1,000 to 2,000 feet over the top of those because the wind speed difference can be ferocious. Now, those of you who like to check out something really, really cool later on today, or if you've got Google in front of you, go look up what a lenticular cloud is. I'm just going to look behind me real quick. Watch out, folks. We're taking this turn. Now, Apollo. Buenas noches. All right, let's start thinking about it. I gotta look behind me because I'm scared to see. Oh my God, look at that. I like the roll. That's pretty sweet. I did shut off the nameplate, so sorry if I can't reveal anybody. Good time, by the way, if anybody's using an aircraft that's a low wing, to go ahead and change your fuel tank. I've been riding on this one on the left for the whole flight, and I'm watching it actually not get low, but it's definitely starting to get there, and I can feel the imbalance in my controls. Chippy A, you got it. That's exactly what a lenticular cloud is. Not only does it become a UFO cloud, but it gets this almond, almost wedding cake look to it. If that happens and you're anywhere near that, you could be talking microbursts and up to 100-knot winds. It's insanity. If you ever see those, you cannot fly near those. You are already dead. It's just like, oh, they're terrifying. Then there's microbursts. All right, folks, those of you who are getting ready to land, remember, you can't land in this direction because the wind is going to be pushing you. So you want to be very, very cautious. All right. I'm going to go ahead and get myself all ready, doing all my mental checks here. Flip on my landing light. I'm on my fullest gas tank. I got to remember to put the landing gear down in this thing. I've done that so many times. It's just, whoa, embarrassing. Let's take a look behind me. Excellent. Oop, got passed again. That's all right, though. Now, we've got to ask the crowd, now that we've got about, I don't know, 3 or 4 minutes before we're going to probably spin around and set this thing on the ground. Is there anything that we're looking for in a video? You know, not that I've exhausted it, but it seems like, not that interest has gone away, but things have shifted a little bit as far as what people would like to check out. Is there anything in particular that folks would like to check out or like to see more of? All right, folks, behind me, by the way, you're going to be taking a gentle left, and then we're going to be taking a gentle right, and there's going to be our runway right in front of us. Do not accidentally go over the top of this. Going to go nice and gentle here. Not bad at all. All right, here we go. There's our destination. Switching to concentration mode. And there we are. This is going to be a little insane. Ooh, Z06 is asking for RNAV with offset. Ooh, I haven't seen an RNAV with offset in a very long time. Somebody's asking about landings. Very cool. By the way, right on your left, you have uniform, uniform, uniform. It is that teeny tiny little smidge. If I actually zoom in a little bit, you can definitely check it out. It's that little tiny thing, but I would probably not recommend it. All right. We're getting close. Michael is asking if you can do flight plane changes during flight. It totally depends on the aircraft. Some of them make it so easy, it's like a vacation in order to set up. Other ones are quite a bit more challenging. All right, get ready, folks. Do you see the runway? Right there. That's what you get. Ready? So the way we're going to land on this is I'm going to proceed direct over the back of this, dump my flaps, and then slide the plane down all the way onto that teeny tiny little strip. Remember, the wind is behind you right now. You've got to go around. Oh, somebody's asking about de-icing. I don't think I've ever seen a video that talks about de-icing. All right, here we go, folks. There's our runway. Oh, I don't like this at all. So basically, we're going to have to go down this chute. Now, in the real world, if it were windy at all, we basically couldn't do this landing. All right? Get prepared. Remember, you can always use landing gear to slow you down. Nose up a little bit, nose up a little bit. Dump the flaps all the way down, and here we go. See it? So we're basically going to bring ourselves all the way down to slow flight and take a super gentle turn here. You know what I would really love to see in a flight simulator? Somebody do stellar navigation properly. I actually bought myself a sextant a few years ago to actually try to figure that out. And it's pretty cool, but I can't imagine doing it while you're still trying to fly the plane at the same time. Hopefully nobody made the mistake of bringing the TBM 930 this time. A couple folks did that today. All right, let's do it. Yeah, somebody mentioned missionary bush pilot earlier this morning, and I gotta go look that up as well. Oh man, I wish I could stick my head up even higher. Oh my God, look at that. Again, bush pilots do anything they need to put the plane on the ground. I'm checking. Yep, gears down. I'm gonna slide the plane. Slip, I should say. I hated learning slips in the real plane because it's a real workout for the leg that's doing the rudder action. All right, come sliding, come sliding. Whoop! Apparently they don't know how to slip and didn't realize how short the runway is. Watch out, watch out! Folks, you can't do that. You can't do that. There it is. Oh, come on, folks. Look at how dangerous that is. Let's see if anybody got it. Pull myself off the road here. That's a lot of go-arounds. Hold the brakes! The brakes! Oh no! That's not gonna end well. Dude, you're going against the wind! Don't do it! Don't do it! Oh my God. I could have told you that wasn't. So Maxime just asked me real quickly, why did I need to slip? The reality was, if I was not going to slip, the aircraft would have accelerated, and I would have ended up over-exceeding the total length of the runway. Oh my God, that was hard. And that would have ended really, really badly. So the slip is, oh my gosh, that counts as 2 landings. You all saw that. So the reason I slipped is basically to slow the plane down during the approach. Little ultralights like this, you could slip like crazy and you can actually safely come down. Now, the interesting thing is if the wind was coming the other way, this would have been a vacation. The reason for that is because of the fact that we basically could have gone uphill versus downhill. I know, it's so fun to watch. Oh, this isn't even bad. You gotta wait for the jerk and the airliner to cut everybody off. All right, that looks pretty good to me. All right, let's be judgmental. You're coming too fast, way too fast. Nope, 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 nope. Just go around. Master Flex asked me, did I use a stick and throttle? Yes, I have one of the Thrustmaster joysticks, the little throttle things. You've probably seen a single-handed one. It looks like something off an F-18. I have a VKB gunfighter for my primary stick. It works really, really, really well. And then, of course, for pedals, I think I have these old, I'm trying to remember exactly what they are. I think they're like Combat Masters. That's not going to go well. Go around. I think this is more challenging than it was earlier today. The one up in Utah and Idaho, which I got corrected by on a comment, that was a lot trickier than that. Yeah, slipping's amazing. You can actually slip. Oh my God, that hurt. Slipping actually works well if you're in a situation where you don't have flaps also. This is going really badly, but I'm just going to kind of hang out and enjoy the chaos. It's too bad the wind was coming from that way. This would be so much safer. Oh my God, what is he doing? I think they're doing it intentionally now. No, TBM. That's three landings. Going for 4 landings? Into the woods. Nope. There was a game years ago called SWAT. It was called like Police Quest or something like that. And like whenever you got things wrong, which was really easy, it would always play taps. And that just kind of remembers. I guess I might have to do a video on slipping now, because that's definitely a useful technique to keep you from accelerating. Yeah, I saw Z06 do the bounce disappear thing like that. Master Flex is mentioning something about I did see the Airbus HOTAS. I think that's really cool. Keyboard, I highly recommend using the mouse to steer as opposed to keyboard. It's much more stable. So I'm just going to look around and see if anybody else is trying to land this here. I think we're actually pretty safe at this point. Looking around real quick. Just want to see if anybody else is there. And then, of course, we'll do an encore because we did it last time, so we might as well do another one. Just looking around real quick. Yeah, I think we're going to go for it. I think we're going to go. Oh, somebody's coming. So Operation Radio, we set the weather to be preset, and we did not click live players. We're on all players. It's much safer. Oh my gosh. Here we go again. I hate judging, but like it's just interesting to watch. Oh, careful. Please don't hit the ground too. Oh, that's nice. Yeah, you can't do it. Not downhill. Oh, look at that one. At least he was smart enough to go around. I actually had to go around earlier this morning. So Snorks asked, where to get information about these airports? I hate to be that guy, but I actually had to look it up online. Flight Simulator is actually where I found the name of the airport, and then I just worked backwards and actually poked around. Okay, folks, we're going to do the Encore suicide landing. So if everybody be so kind as to follow me back up the mountain here, we're going to go ahead and turn this thing around, and we're going to do the suicide mode. Don't forget, for anybody who's taking off, to set your RPM all the way back up. Don't forget to go ahead and set your flaps so that they're in the best takeoff position. We're going to be taking off and basically going down the road, taking a right, and we're going to be landing at that much bigger field than what we have right here. Again, this is just our Encore. We've got time. I'm sure that guy's freaking out. Doesn't this runway look so much bigger when you're on it than when you're coming into it? Please don't hit the ground. No. Ouch. This is just fun. Now, could you imagine if somebody tried to do this in something silly like the CJ or something like that? That would have done so incredibly poorly. Go and hit my brakes here. I've got a couple people coming in. I want to give them the benefit of the doubt. I'm not sure why the Bonanza is a tail setter. All right, let's go for it. Look at this. This is so incredible. It's just like this little hill, and people are like, yeah, you can land on it. It'll be fine. All right, here we go. Give myself a moment, let people kind of get caught up. We're going to go down, take a right. There's a really easy place to land on that side. Yeah, Maxime, the big thing about landing is you really got to be landing close to the speed of a stall. You can't be going too much faster than that. Otherwise, you're going to get yourself in all sorts of trouble. Make sure I'm looking around, make sure everything's secure. Of course, I'm blocking up the approach again, but that's perfectly fine because it just makes it more fun. Got to go take my little victory picture here because this is just absolutely chaos. Print screen. All right, let's do it. Okay, folks, for those of you who are joining us for Encore, we're going to go ahead and do the best we can not to hit the mountain directly ahead of us. I like that. Let's do it. Full power. Wait for the vibration. Release. Now we're going downhill, which means my takeoff is like that long. Now you understand why I took the VL3 with me today. I was actually going to take the Pipistrel, the Virus, but I figured this would be a little easier. So we're just moving airports here, folks, so that we have a little bit more room in which to work from. So don't mind me. I'm not trying to run away, I promise. I promise. We're just trying to get ourselves just a little bit more room because there's way too many folks coming today. All right. Now, this is going to seem absolutely crazy. You would never do a maneuver like this, ever. Again, we're crossing the ridge. Whenever you do ridge crossing, you're going to get that wicked turbulence. And I'm going to go ahead and look out the window here. And there's our landing spot. That was pretty easy, right? Gear down. Looks good. I'm going to go ahead and dump those flaps. In some aircraft, you're not allowed to slip with flaps, but this aircraft you definitely can, especially because it's so light. So I'm actually going to go ahead and fly the airplane sideways so we don't accelerate. I feel sorry for anybody who's following me right now because they're about to go ripping, but like, there you go. They're about to go ripping by me. All right, we're going to land this sucker, shut down. We'll do some quick Q&A, and then see where we're going to be going next. Yeah, look at this. I'm doing about 35 knots, and I'm not accelerating. There's our next spot. The running way itself is actually right there where that airplane is parked. So you want to make sure you land on that spot, although there's plenty of room here to stick this plane down. All I got to say is if you're going to learn mountain flying, learn to fly slow. It's much safer. All right, this guy's coming in. See how that nose is down? That's usually a bad sign. All right, go ahead and bring the aircraft around like this. Ginsbergo, I really, really appreciate that. It's been such a rush because I went from having, I kid you not, 800 subscribers back in March. I picked up my first 1,000 in the early summer, and now I'm almost hitting 13,000. And you folks are just, I couldn't have done it without you. I look forward to continuing doing it, but again, I'm just curious what everybody's interested in. Apparently, I got to do a video on how to fly sideways, so that's definitely going to be the cue. This week, by the way, you're not going to see as much content from me. There'll be one video going out because I did a double live stream today, and it kind of sucked up my free time. I like this runway. It's a little bit smoother, right? I love aircraft. You can just basically get out and just, onto the ground. I'll go ahead and cancel my slip. I used a little more room than I wanted it to, but I'm not complaining. All right, nice and easy, nice and easy. Hey, we did it. All right, I'm going to go turn around and make some more judgmental landings here. All right, now that is what I call an encore performance. I'm just going to enjoy this for a second. This is just, it's so amazing. If everybody can make their way over to me, I'll get a group photo. I guess like a selfie kind of a thing. Go ahead and shut everything down. How much fuel did we use? I'm kind of curious, actually. Not bad. Like 2 gallons. That's pretty efficient. All right, shut everything off. Oh, no. Almost. Yeah, I absolutely agree with you. I think that G1000 video that I did, kind of helping folks out, that was just like overnight. Ooh, careful there, a little too fast. Careful night fast like that. Next bush flying adventure must be Lesotho, Southern Africa. Southern Africa is incredible. I also like South America. I also like New Zealand. Like you can do some amazing things. And the cool thing about New Zealand is, no offense, you can't get lost. Take a look real quickly here, just make sure everything's good. Everyone's got crowding in here for a little group photo for the day, so I can have a nice dramatic picture for things. I got to figure out how this, like, yep, that's exactly right. That's how I feel after this one. Kind of hang out. All right, at the end, I always like to do some Q&A, so does anybody have any questions? Again, some of the information I provided was kind of redundant today because we saw that a little bit earlier today. Again, if you're doing mountain flying, always visualize the wind as if it's water, and you'll know exactly where you need to be flying. The other thing, as I always say, is find a railroad. It's always going to be a much more gentle climb. Otherwise, try to find roads. And of course, if you can't find that, find the widest river you can, and that's usually going to be the safest way up into some kind of a mountain. Yes. Oh, I always forget about Alaska. You know, Alaska is breathtaking in VR. It's absolutely, absolutely, absolutely gorgeous. And again, it's so neat. Where I live, I mean, I know how to fly and find some interesting looking mountains, but our mountains are like, 600 feet tall, kind of a thing like that. All right, we're letting everybody kind of crowd in here. This is so cool. I'll have to count everybody up and see how close we came. I think we had just shy of 30 when we did this last time. Let everybody kind of get caught up real quickly. Is anybody have any questions? Stepan Elch asked me this. So Andy, that's an excellent question. There's actually a book basically called the, I don't want to get it wrong, but it's like the Mountain Flying Handbook or the Mountain Flying Bible. And one of the things they talk about is never having a non-escape plan. So if you do follow a river and you find that suddenly you're at a waterfall, you should never have gotten in that position and been able to turn around. Some people can go ahead and do insane things like, pulling chandelles or things like that. And the cool thing is you just need to go slow enough in order to go ahead and dodge that kind of stuff. Vincent, me, there was instructions on the community page of my one. We're at, oh geez, I don't even want, uniform on the East USA server. Now we've got all players turned on. Now look at that. All right. You know, I'm actually going to do something bad here. All right, now, unfortunately, some of you are going to be a little hazy. Now, that is what I call a fly-in. Yeah, you folks make me feel so excited. I like the Bonanza doing this little kind of plant right here. I have a Discord server. I got to decide whether or not I want to kind of use it for things like that. That is a good question. Yes, all of my live streams are available back on YouTube. You can actually see the first one we did way back in September, which was pretty crazy. Exactly. Okay, so just because I've got no questions, and we're getting relatively late and watching the clock here, something like that. Oh, no, you're absolutely right. I was just afraid to for performance perspectives. All right, let me go ahead and get a picture real quick. Awesome. And we're going to go ahead and have a little bit of a fun little send-off, and we'll go ahead and crash. And then 10 seconds. All right. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Just added to it. What was all that beeping noise? I guess that was bad news. All right, does anybody have any other questions for me this evening before we kind of call it sort of a thing? Actually, Fury's got a great question. He's asking, are there any Brazilian planes? You will be seeing, I think, Aero, I forget the name of the company, does have something coming out. I can't remember that or what they were. They're doing some of the Embraer regional jets, so you'll see that pretty soon. All right, if there's no other questions, okay. Have a great night, folks. For everybody who joined us, thank you so much. That was really a lot of fun. And hopefully we'll see each other again at another night. Other than that, if you have questions, toss them up on my community page. I get it a little bit sooner. See you all later.